Well, you're a noisy lot. I was listening during the announcement there about if there's a fire. I hope we don't have a fire tonight. I don't think anyone was listening, Mr. Slents.
Just follow me.
Can I ask everyone if you could please take your seats? Elected members, visitors, please also remember to switch your electronic devices to silent. Welcome everybody. I'd also like to welcome our viewers at home who are watching the meeting via the live stream. If I could ask you all, please, if you could be upstanding, and if I could ask you, Deputy Mayor, if you could read out the opening prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Irwin. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Councillor Reid, could you please read the acknowledgement of country?
On behalf of the elected members, we'd like to acknowledge... On behalf of the elected members, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respect for elders past, present and emerging, please.
Thank you. You can take your seats. Without prior approval, any recording of the meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the city being received. Brings us to the official opening. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the council meeting of the 25th of August 2026 open at 6:30 p.m. Item 2, apologies. We have received an apology from Councillor Thornton. 3, approved leave of absence. We have nil. 4, disclosure of interest. From the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee on 17th of August, we have none. From Community and Resource Committee on the 18th, there were 7 disclosures of interest, and they are on the board behind me. Mr. Slents, do you have any disclosures for this evening?
Yes, Mr Mayor. I've received one additional declaration of interest from Councillor Yawn for item 12.2 ES1, the review of the trial of the intersection closure. It's an impartiality interest as Councillor Yawn's children attended St Kieran's and Servite College as students. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other disclosures, councillors? No indication at this stage. We'll go to 5 petitions. Councillors, are there any unverified petitions you wish to table? We have no petitions. Thank you. Item 6, responses to previous questions from members of the public taken on notice. We have nil. We'll now go to public question time. Questions that have been submitted in writing before the meeting will be heard first. So we'll now move on to those, and I'll invite Jane Boyle to come forward to start us off. Thank you. I'll just get you, on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a silver button there. If you press that, you'll see a red light. Now, you don't have to touch that again. It can stay on for everyone. And what we'll ask is if you just say your name and suburb, and then start with your first question, please.
Okay. My name's Jane Boyle. I'm in Wembley Downs.
Sorry, can I just get you to lift your microphone up a little bit? That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first question is, why does the proposed new footpath policy not enforce mandatory obligations and to consider the need to retain and protect street trees before a tree is removed, or to substantially damage a tree to accommodate a new footpath?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot.
Through the Mayor, the purpose of the new footpath policy is to establish where footpaths are generally required and to ensure decisions are made consistently across the city rather than on a street-by-street basis. The consideration of street trees, landscaping, drainage services and other site constraints for individual footpath projects is taken into consideration during the detailed design process. So the city remains committed to the protection and enhancement of its urban forest, and where footpaths are designed, every effort is made to retain existing trees through design modifications and path realignments and techniques such as that. The absence of specific tree retention criteria within the footpath policy does not remove the city's broader obligations under its tree and environmental strategies.
Thank you. And your second question, please.
Under the proposed policy, if a cul-de-sac has old thriving trees on both sides of the road, near the road, how will the council install a 1.8 metre wide footpath on one side of the road without compromising a tree?
Thank you. Mr Gimov?
Through the chair, the existence of mature trees doesn't automatically mean that trees will require removal. Every footpath project is individually designed, and a range of options may be considered, including, as I mentioned, alignment adjustments, reduced path widths for narrow sections, localised design modifications. Where significant trees are present, protecting those canopy outcomes is a very important consideration during the detailed design process. So it's not accurate to assume that tree removal is unavoidable when a footpath may be proposed within a certain street.
Thank you. And your third question, please.
The proposed new footpath policy removes the need for the city to conduct a risk assessment of each street. Would it not be warranted for this level of city expenditure to be subject to a risk or cost-benefit analysis, given the wide variation of streets and circumstances in the city?
Thank you. Ms Gimov?
Through the chair, the city undertakes strategic planning and prioritisation processes to determine where footpaths should be delivered and where they are funded. The policy itself provides the framework to determine the need for a connected and accessible path network, and individual projects are then assessed through budget development, design and delivery processes. And while each street may have unique characteristics, the city's policy recognises that footpaths are an important part of community infrastructure and that they deliver broader benefits in safety, accessibility and connectivity across the city.
Thank you very much. Clara? You might see I just put one name there. I'm going to apologise. I wasn't going to mess your second name up.
Oh, Stoy Savlovich. It's a little more difficult than when we first met. That Yick was a lot shorter.
Just your name and suburb to start.
Clara Stoy Savlovich, and I'm a resident at 61B Dun Russell Place in a rear home backing onto Jory Rice, which is another beautiful little pocket there with lots of trees. Look, I think after listening to...
Sorry, can I just get you to speak up?
Sorry.
And your first question.
The questions that I have, some of the answers have already been addressed really in the previous questions from Jane. So I'm not sure whether I should... It's regarding the policies that it may be contravene of with the new footpath policy. So I think you've addressed part of that with the openness to assess per street and required assessment of each of the streets.
Yep. You are welcome to ask some other questions though, if you'd like. Just
No, I think that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie Knight. Thank you.
Okay.
And so your name and suburb to start?
Yes, Melanie Knight, Dun Russell Place, Wembley Downs. You didn't need the street number particularly, did you?
No, it's just your suburb.
Okay, very nervous standing up here. So I had some questions that I feel may have partially been answered as well, so I may just use the questions.
Ad-lib a
but-
little bit.
Yep, add a bit. So with the policy, I'm wondering if it's designed to take into account individual street characteristics specifically. So the policy, as my understanding was that it's quite a broad policy. I wanted to ensure that there is discretion available to be exercised within the policy, that's clear within that policy, so that it doesn't contradict the intention of the broader tree preservation policies at both a state and local level. So my question really is, are there discretionary provisions within the policy?
Sure. So I'll get Mr. Guillemot to answer that. Mr. Guillemot, can you also just provide clarity, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but in terms of tree retention, how often would you remove a tree to put a footpath in?
Through the chair, the tree retention, through my 20 years or almost 20 years at the city, we've put in a lot of footpaths. I can't tell you the number of footpaths that we've put in, but to the best of my knowledge, we've never removed a tree to allow for a footpath to be constructed. We've always managed to design around any existing trees as part of our process to. We do a site inspection. We measure where all the existing trees are located. We look at which side, if there is one side that's got a lot of existing trees and one with none, we'll try to shift the path to the side with the least trees, and then we'll look at other other methods of going around those trees. As I mentioned in earlier responses, reducing the width of the footpath, reducing or modifying the alignment of the footpath. So I guess after all that, the short answer is we haven't removed trees to allow for footpaths to be constructed.
Thank you. And your second question?
My second question related mainly to our particular street and our particular suburb of Wembley Downs, obviously being a very leafy suburb, being known for that, and the fact that the trees in our suburb do make our suburb notably cooler than other suburbs. We've had up to 5 degrees difference just in my short time living at that address in the temperatures that are noted around Perth. So my second question was about that, but some has been semi-answered. So it did relate to the weakening of trees that concrete does cause as well. So it's not just about the removal of the tree, it's about the fact that concrete laid near trees and above their roots prevents water going through and prevents air as well. So it impacts the air availability, which is why tree roots come up through concrete, seeking moisture and air. So with that being the case, we have weak trees currently in Australia or in Perth at the moment that are being recognised. They're being impacted by pests, shothole borer, and we need to be doing everything to make sure our trees are as healthy as possible. To add concrete around the bases of them, which just draws heat and weakens the trees themselves, what would be done to address that? Are there other alternatives to concrete being considered?
Mr. Guillemot?
Through the Mayor, yeah, as I mentioned, we do have alternative construction techniques that we do employ. First of all, when we are looking at structural root zones, we have to excavate to allow a footpath, rather than excavate by machine, we'll excavate by hand. We'll have an arborist on site when we're doing that to make sure that we're not affecting the structural root zone. We are also able to look at different materials, we've got an alternative sort of rubberized treatment that still is porous and allows water to be able to soak through, but it provides a stable enough surface. So we have employed that at a number of locations where there are trees that that are well away from the footpath, but still have a long-reaching root zone. So that there are alternative methods that we employ to make sure that that structural root zone is not impacted.
Okay, and will specialist arborists be consulted on the impact that it might have? Because even rubber itself can be sort of leach toxins and things like that. Is it something that's looked into and will be within the policy to protect those mature trees?
Thank you. Ms. Guillemot?
It's not specifically written in the policy, but as I mentioned, it's part of our detailed design process and is part of something that we go through for every footpath design. We do have an arborist we have panels of contractors that are available for us to be able to access for those purposes.
Thank you for your questions.
Great, thank you.
Michael Walker?
My name is Michael Walker, resident of Dunrussell Place.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit embarrassed. My wife actually wrote the questions, so I don't have a copy with me.
I have a copy that we can get you, if that helps.
If you could lend me a copy, thank you very much.
When you get home, you better thank your wife for submitting them in
She's
advance.
actually watching the live performance, so...
Hi, Michael's wife.
if I may say, a lot of the questions and the answers have probably already been provided, but
that the wrong one?
if I can just sort of run through those.
Was it the wrong one? Yep. What was wrong? Yep.
No, I haven't got my glasses.
Was it the wrong one?
Okay. Question 1 was, what analysis has been done by the City of Stirling to determine the heat island effect caused by the addition of 1.8 metres of concrete footpath in Dunrussell Place?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot?
The policy review before council is a strategic policy review and not for a proposal for a specific footpath project. So accordingly, there's no project-specific heat island analysis that has been undertaken for presumably Dunrussell Place that you're referring to. Any future footpath proposal would be subject to detailed planning and design, and the purpose of the policy more broadly is to establish principles for pedestrian accessibility and connectivity across the city.
Do I have a right to question that?
No, you can question through me, but it's one of your questions.
So you want me to continue with the other questions first before I...
Yeah, you only get 3 questions. We don't get to decide that. It's in the meeting procedures that we're prescribed.
So how do I direct the question back just in relation
You don't.
to...
We'll have to take that offline tomorrow.
Okay.
Believe me, we'd be here all night while you debated officers.
That's on Thursday night.
See if you can word it into your second question with your other stuff.
Okay, question 2. How many cul-de-sacs in the City of Stirling do not currently have footpaths, and what is the cost of putting 1.8 metres of concrete footpath in them and the resulting environmental impact?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot?
Through the chair, the question you're asking is a detailed project, a network-wide information that's not the subject of this council review. So I can't provide you with that information at the moment. But the policy establishes the framework for footpath provision more broadly. It's not specifically designed to create a funding program to immediately construct footpaths in every cul-de-sac. Future footpath delivery remains subject to prioritisation, design, consultation and annual budget.
Thank you. And your third question?
Question 3. Why has the City of Stirling subcommittee endorsed a one-size-fits-all footpath policy without the individual cul-de-sacs being given the opportunity to demonstrate they do not need a 1.8 metre footpath?
Oh, look, that was a decision of committee through to council, and council will obviously be taking that on board tonight and taking on board your comments and making a decision on that footpath policy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James Halliwell.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. James Halliwell, Nollamara. Just a couple of questions this evening on the topic of short-term accommodation and Airbnbs. There appears to be a growing number of issues involving Airbnbs and short-term accommodation in the City of Stirling, particularly within Nollamara. Last month, Stephen from Vermont Street in Nollamara raised some significant concerns within the Nollamara Community Group Facebook page regarding an Airbnb operating at 13C Vermont Street. He has since raised these issues again with myself and feels that his concerns have fallen on deaf ears in recent times. Is the City aware of concerns relating to the operation of an Airbnb at 13C Vermont Street?
Thank you. Ms Shears?
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you for your question, Mr Halliwell. The City is aware of that operating Airbnb and I can confirm it's an active investigation for the City.
Thank you. And the second question, I suppose, in a more broad sense, I should say, is the City considering introducing any stronger rules and regulations on short-term accommodation within its boundaries to ensure less disturbances and noise issues for its longer-term residents?
Thank you. Ms Shears?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Mr Halliwell, we do have a policy, a local planning policy for short-term rental accommodation in the city. That did only come into effect earlier this year, so officers do have an outstanding notice of motion to come back to council with a report on the effectiveness of that policy, and certainly looking at the noise mitigation and how these operating in the community is part of that work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Plume. Thank you. And just your name and suburb, please.
Yeah, Adrian Plume in Doubleview. As you would be aware, I was here 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
To do with Quoll Lane, or as it's since been found out, it's known as right away 16047. There were a couple of questions that taken on notice, and I did note, thank you, that the responses were there. However, I don't think it's gone any way the response has gone any way to addressing the problem.
Sure.
So just a couple of questions for tonight. The laneway in question has been a dumping area for rubbish, which we've had to dispose of for many years. It's also overgrown by vegetation and has to be cleared. It's also had a tree blow over, causing a hell of a lot of damage. The previous response states that the upgrades, well, the response to one of my previous questions, that the upgrades are prioritised across the city based on a range of factors, including conditions and strategic need. Notwithstanding the current private ownership of the land, which is a deceased estate, so I've since been told, why has the council not acted to upgrade the laneway in light of the current state of disrepair?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot.
Through the Chair, the City acknowledges the concerns regarding the condition of your right-of-way and understands the impacts that illegal dumping and vegetation can have on adjoining residents. While we recognise these issues, unfortunately similar concerns exist across many unsealed right-of-ways. The City therefore needs to apply a consistent and an impartial prioritisation process to determine the order in which right-of-ways are delivered. A full upgrade for this right-of-way can only occur when that project reaches the appropriate ranking within the Capital Works program. At this stage, the right-of-way is not scheduled for upgrade until 2030-31, subject to future council budget approvals and ongoing program reviews. So until that time, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to upgrade the right-of-way at the rear of your property.
Thank you. And your second question?
Second question, which has been hammered a bit, I guess, but the upgrade was first postponed to 2021. That was postponed till then, from my memory. And my question is, was there any work commenced in having the laneway gazetted for that original upgrading of the lane?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot.
Process that can take up to 2 years, I believe, as I was quoted.
The future upgrade of the right-of-way has been contingent upon a number of planning and funding and priority considerations, and we understand it has been pushed back a number of times to account for those prioritisations. The gazettal process involves a number of steps, and generally speaking, that process is not commenced until two years prior to the upgrade. So that's the reason why there hasn't been any progress on the gazettal of this right-of-way.
So even for the original time
Sorry, sir.
time frames.
Sorry, you just have to ask questions through.
Oh, sorry. So I just, for the original time frame, there was no process begun for that. I can take it.
No.
Okay, thank you. My third question, I'd like to congratulate the Mayor and the Council on completing approximately 99.7% of the laneway upgrades now in Doubleview, which leaves, well, it's my guess of what's going on, which leaves absolutely virtually none, except mine and a few others around the place, left to do. So I would dispute the previous answer, but never mind. And Mayor, I'd like to reference coincidentally, when I got home from the last meeting, I had a notice for my rates to be paid.
You're welcome.
And also a letter from yourself. So if you don't mind me taking the liberty, I'd just like to read the opening message from yourself. Our annual budget 26-27 will allow us to maintain the high standards of service, projects and programs our community expects. So my question to you, Mayor, is that do you think that having to wait 12 years for action on this and now another proposed 5 years is the kind of service that the community expects?
Thank you for that question. Look, I understand your concerns, Mr Plume. I lived in Doubleview for many years and had a similar laneway behind that probably won't be done to 2040 if it ever gets done where I used to live.
But it's
I understand it's not to your expectation, but the cost of doing laneways has to be in line with prioritisation in terms of their use, in terms of development onto that laneway, because they basically become future roadways. And there is a big city and they cost a lot of money. And it is also a contribution system where the users end up paying for that. So there's significant cost to those landowners. So to prioritise laneways too early, if there isn't the development happening on there, you also get people having to contribute for laneways that they won't actually see for 12 years or 15 years. I'm happy to take it offline with you. I understand it's not the answer you want, and I'm. You know,
no, I'd like to speak to you offline if that's okay.
I'd
I
be
will
happy
address it further at the next meeting if we don't get somewhere.
Happy to take it offline and come visit you.
Thank you for.
Is there any other questions that I've missed this evening? If not, you can turn that off for me. No, that's, yeah, we go all night, Mr. Plume. Thank you for doing that. And thank you, everyone, for your patience during public question time. We'll now go on to item 8, application for leave of absence. Councillor Daniela Iron has requested a leave from the 28th of September 2026 to the 8th of October 26 inclusive. Councillors, are there any other requests for leave of absence? No, can I have a move and a seconder to accept that leave of absence? Move Councillor Olo, seconded Councillor Giudice. And just a show of hands, please, councillors, to accept that. That's unanimous. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on the 11th of August? Move Councillor Hatton, seconded Councillor Papard. Can I have a show of hands to accept those minutes? Get through these preliminaries, thank you. Announcements by the presiding member. I do have one, but before I do, I'll ask Councillor Hatton, I believe you have an announcement for us.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, it's a really happy occasion to stand here. Councillors, I would like to briefly acknowledge a presentation recently received from the Stirling Saints Junior Football Club, a fantastic local club in the Hammersley ward. My co-councillor, Deputy Mayor, is holding it up at the moment. At the club's sponsors and supporters brunch on the 16th of August 2026, the City was presented with this certificate of appreciation of our ongoing support of the club and its members. Primarily based at Richard Guelphy Reserve in Balcatta, the Saints provide football opportunities for local children and young people through Auskick, Superkick and junior and youth football programs, helping foster active lifestyles, friendships and community connection. You could put that down if you like. You're blocking the camera. The Stirling Saints and the President and Executive are watching this tonight. This recognition reflects the strong partnerships the City continues to build with local sporting clubs through its support for community participation, volunteer development and grassroots sport, helping create opportunities for people of all ages to connect, be active and contribute to their local community. On behalf of Council, I thank the committee, coaches, volunteers, players and families of the Stirling Saints Junior Football Club for their contribution to our community and for this thoughtful gesture of appreciation to the City of Stirling. We look forward to continuing our partnership with the club into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hatton. Councillor Dudek, you have an announcement.
I do, thank you, Mr Mayor, and this one's becoming a tradition for us at Stirling. So I'm pleased to advise that the City has once again received the Mobile Muster Top Collector Award. So the City was awarded the top collector for mobile muster within WA. That's because this year we prevented 1.16 tonnes of CO2 emissions by recycling 326 kilograms of mobile phone components. This positive impact in reducing emissions is equivalent to planting 20 trees, I hear. So I want to acknowledge the Manager of Waste and Fleet, Yvette Plimley, and her team for all their hard work and commitment to this initiative.
Thank you. He doesn't get a clap. Councillor Giudice, you have an announcement.
I do indeed, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased to acknowledge an outstanding achievement by the City of Stirling's customer experience team, and I've got my councillor here. team at the 26 AusContact WA Excellence Awards held recently. Servant Improvement Business Analyst Fiona Hart was named the winner of the Business Analyst Reporting Professional category, recognising her significant contribution to data-informed decision-making and service improvement across the organisation. The City was also recognised as a finalist in the Customer Experience Initiative of the Year Digital Transformation category for the Complaints Handling Refresh project. This initiative has transformed the way customer feedback is managed across the organisation and has contributed to a reduction in complaint volumes of almost 40% since its implementation in September 2025. Congratulations to Fiona and the City's Customer Experience team on this well-deserved recognition.
Yeah, well done, team. Thank you, and I will finish, and this one's probably a bit of a change of pace and a different, sadder note. But I would like to make an announcement on behalf of the City of Stirling on the passing of Surfing WA CEO Mark Lane. The City of Stirling extends its sincere condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of Mark Lane, the Chief Executive Officer of Surfing Western Australia. Following his passing on the weekend, way too soon, Mark was a passionate advocate for surfing in Western Australia and made a lasting contribution to the sport through his leadership, dedication and his support of the surfing community. The City acknowledges Mark's enduring legacy and honours the positive impact he made on West Australian sporting and coastal communities. On a personal note, I would just like to add, Mark Lane was honestly one of those true gentlemen, an absolute legend, a great athlete, and also a fantastic contributor who provided so much to surfing in Western Australia right throughout the whole state. So we sincerely stand by the surfing community, and I believe on Saturday there'll be a paddle out down on the coast for him. We'll now move on to item 11, which is unresolved business, and I have nil. And we'll go to item 12, those reports from committee councillors. So we'll start with the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Councillors, are there any of these items you wish to pull out? If not, I will ask you as Chair, Councillor Perkoff, or Deputy Mayor Perkoff, if you'd like to move those reports en bloc.
Would Mr Mayor, I'd like to move the reports as written in the agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Ree is seconding those. I will put all of those reports from the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee to the vote. I think, how many have we got? Sorry, can I just get you to swing that around? I can't see who hasn't done it because I've... Oh, Councillor Hatton, can you vote? Thanks. Okay, it's now you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, councillors. So members of the gallery and any viewers at home, all of those Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee recommendations have just been adopted en bloc. Councillors will now move to the Community and Resource Committee, which was held on the 18th of August. Councillors, are there any of these items you wish to pull out? Councillor Dudek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I might just pull out 12.2P1.
On page 320?
Yeah.
Councillor Kristovich.
Yeah, I'd like to pull out 12.2F3.
Thank you. That's the one on page 345. Councillor Ree.
Yes, please. 12.2 ES3, review of the footpath policy to page 219, please. And 12.2 DS1, review of the crossover policy on 236, please.
Thank you. That's very dramatic, Mr Johnson. Are there any other items that you wish to pull out this evening? No. So we'll first go to item 12.2 ES3, review of the footpath policy. That's been pulled out. And go to you, Councillor Papard, as Chair of the Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I
Sorry,
move the committee's recommendation on page 219.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kristovich. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Iron. Thank you. I'll go to you, Councillor Papard.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Reid, can I just get your mic off just for now? Just your microphone. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was some good and robust discussion on this, and questions were asked and answered in detail. The deputy as well, and city officers, and I have no doubt that we unpacked the issue relating to this motion. There are obviously some issues, contentious issues still with the community, and I appreciate there's some discussion on it coming this evening as well, and a procedural motion as well. So some follow-up questions may need to be asked, and I trust that we could proceed moving forward after this. So I'll leave my comments at that at this stage and wait for the debate.
Councillor Kristovich, seconded.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Look, what I want to say about the footpath policy is that this footpath policy came into existence in 2012. It was reviewed in 2015 and passed by the council, reviewed in 2018 and passed by the council, reviewed in 2020 and passed by the council. It's now 2026 and it's being reviewed again, and it will be reviewed again in 2 years from now. Just to put some background, if you go to, you know, footpaths are always an interesting subject, and they come up in many parts and many documents of the city. So if you go into the into our community consultation that we do every year, and in terms of feedback from the community on what they think are the important priorities in different suburbs, you go to the insights document. Suburbs with footpaths came in the top 5 in many suburbs. So Gwelup, it was in the top 5, people wanted more footpaths. Trigg, Wembley, Scarborough, Nollamara, Waterman's Bay, Woodlands, Yokine, just to name a few. So that was in their top 5 priorities in those locations, that they wanted more footpaths, they wanted better connectivity. There's a whole lot I could say about those particular reports and the percentages of satisfaction of people in those, but I won't go into that into too much detail. What I will also say is that currently in the city, we have 1,130 kilometres of footpaths already laid. To put a footpath on every location where we're hoping to put one, that's 1,320 kilometres, which means we only have 190 kilometres to do. That means 86% of the city of Stirling currently has footpaths. There's only 14% left to do, right? 14% left to do. In terms of our Access and Inclusion Committee, and we have one of those, footpaths is one of their key priorities. Obviously, people with disabilities, people who have difficulty getting around the city, put footpaths on one of their #1 priorities. So, you know, we also have feedback through that document. We have feedback through our annual reviews. We have feedback through our community consultations in terms of what's important to people. We also, you know, have obviously the statistics and data in terms of what's been happening. And it's interesting to hear today that, you know, all of the policies are intertwined to make sure that we have got these. The issue here is not about individual streets. It's about a global view of footpaths and what we should and shouldn't be doing. And I suppose the question is should we be connecting people? Should we be allowing people to get from one part of the city to the other part of the city? I'm sure we, all of us use footpaths. I am frequently walking out to get a little bit of exercise, and I go down all sorts of different paths, and I just follow footpaths. I don't know where they're going to take me half the time, but I just thought, well, I'm going for a 5K walk, I'll just walk anywhere. I mean, it's interesting. And it's interesting, and it's interesting when you do those walks.
I'll get you some Google Maps, councillor, so you know where to walk.
No, I don't want Google Maps. It's good to go off the beaten track and just see other parts of the city rather than try and follow those traditional paths. But look, you know, I know that from the officer's perspective and from a councillor's perspective, we're keen to make sure that we set policies, and that all those policies are connected so that we get the right developments in the right location and the right considerations are taken into view in terms of the trees, the canopy, and everything else. And it's interesting, I did ask the officers about petitions, and I said, when we've received petitions in the past from certain streets about footpaths, for example, the street might say 100% of people signed it in the street. Now, I'm not going to ask Mr. Guillemot again, but I've already asked him today, but the answer was there that you'd be surprised how many times someone emails you from that street and says, look, I signed the petition, however, I actually do support a footpath in my street, but I just didn't want to say no to my neighbours because it might have created some problems. So, I'm not saying that happens all the time, but I'm just saying that, people sign petitions for many different reasons. A lot of them are good reasons, a lot of them are valid reasons, but, sometimes people maybe aren't as committed to it as they have been. I'm not saying that that's the case in other situations, but it's just petitions are one factor. The environment is another factor. talking to people, understanding. And it's not just the people who live in that immediate area, it's the ones around the area as well. Do I think that we've got the right balance? I think so. I mean, I think a lot of good points have been raised by the community. And we need to take those on board, and we need to work with the community to get good community outcomes. And we've done that in the past. We've changed the size of the paths, we've changed the direction through consultation through the council as well. The community can also bring those to the council. We can raise a notice of motion to discuss specific locations as well. So there are many avenues other than this global policy, which is at the highest level. We can get into the details as councillors through notices of motion and through other debate to talk about that, which we have in the past. And I believe there might even be, I'm not sure if Mr. Guillemot can confirm this, but there may well have been footpath developments in certain streets that have been postponed because of decisions of council in the past. I'm not sure if there was any streets or not, if Mr. Guillemot can confirm that.
I can confirm there has been.
There has been, yes. So it just reinforces the fact that if the community is passionate about their particular street and it ticks the boxes for fair and reasonable consideration, the council will look at that as well. So do we change a whole policy because of 1 or 2 or 3 streets? Or do we say to people, you know what, the policy has globally is correct. Individually, we're happy to look at your individual circumstances. We can do that as a council. We can debate that and argue that. But does that really justify changing an entire policy? I'm not so sure about that, but I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. We now go to Councillor Iron, who is opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my point here is the issue is one-size-fits-all approach is not the right solution for a diverse city as City of Stirling. And I propose some 2 amendments to the policy. Policy, it's good, but we need 2 amendments as follow. On page 230 of the agenda, and it is on page 2 on the policy, number 1, I propose the following amendment: replace the word "are."
Sorry, Councillor, you submitted a procedural. Is that what you wish to do, or do you want to try through?
Yes.
Okay, so that's different than an amendment.
Yes.
So a procedural so that can be considered. So
Yes, to be considered.
yeah,
Yes.
that's it. So if you want to read out the procedural.
Yeah. Maybe Teresa.
No, if it's your procedure, if you read out the procedural that's up on the board.
Yes. Yeah, I have here. Yeah, it's much easier for me to read from here. So yes, replace the words "are" to.
No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So it's different. So by going, I'll get it past you. So
Yes.
they're 2 different things.
Yes.
The procedural is basically asking for it to be referred so those additions can be considered by the next council meeting, as
Yes,
opposed
so-
to trying to amend them now.
So this item, review of new footpath policy, be referred to the council meeting to be held on 8 September 2026 to allow consideration of the following amendments to the policy. A, replace the word "are" to with the word "should" within policy point number 1, so that it reads all streets within the city, excluding cul-de-sac, should have a footpath on at least one side. And add a policy point number 9, because we have just 8 points, and I propose to add another amendment, number 9, which is to read all new footpaths are to be consulted with the affected residents to seek support for the implementation of a footpath and their feedback taken into consideration.
And your reason for the procedural, if you just read the reason?
Changing the word "are" to "should" in policy point number 1 leaves discretion in the decision-making process and allows through community consultation to inform our process. Adding policy point number 9 acknowledge the importance when implementing the footpath policy that community expectations are taken into consideration when determining priority.
Okay, is there a seconder for that procedural motion? Councillor Ree? That is a procedural, so it's not up for debate. So we're clear this is a procedural motion to hold it over for 2 weeks to take those points into consideration. If you support that, vote for it. If you support the officer's recommendation, don't support that. Thank you. That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. So I know there's some interest in that, so it'll be held over, but governance will provide you some advice on what that means. Yep. We have 12.2 DS1, the review of the crossover policy, which has also been pulled out. Councillor Papard is chair of the committee.
Yes, I move the the committee's recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Migdal. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Ree? Yep. Councillor Papard?
Nothing further to say at this point, but I'll be looking forward to debate, and I'm happy to close further to discussion on that. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Migdal?
Likewise, we discussed the crossover policy in depth at committee, and there wasn't anything that had me gravely concerned. I was quite comfortable with the outcomes and the answers of officers, so happy to support.
Thanks. Councillor Ree?
Yes, I do believe that the crossover policy and the footpath policy should be heard in unison. We did discuss this at length the other day. I also think that it should be reviewed exactly the same time as the footpath policy because they are together. And one of the issues I find is that
Sorry, councillor, they're on the same agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
The footpath policy is under one business directorate and the crossover policy is under the other directorate. And people say that they get a footpath, they've got a beautiful crossover that they've paid for, and then the city comes along with a different business unit and tears up their beautiful crossover and puts a grey footpath in. Now, it's a big place, we know, but somehow these need to be together under one business unit. And so therefore, if we're going to look at the footpath policy, I think that they should be looked in together, especially if we're going to increase the tenders from 100,000 to 250,000. I think that's an interesting gap going on there as well. So I don't know whether I'll take it on advisement, whether or not we need to make that coming through the same time as the footpath policy, because I do believe the public needs to be involved in this, which I did actually send out on the 18th of August a notice of motion in which to allow the public consultation for if it affects you, but somehow that motion went nowhere. So I just think I'll take it on advisement whether or not you want it included, whether we make a motion to say that it has to be in synergy with the footpath policy because it's the same and people need to be respected if they don't want it or they want it, or the footpath's coming past and you've got a beautiful street, especially in some of the areas in Churchlands. We've got beautiful houses worth millions, beautiful lawns, beautiful crossovers, and then all of a sudden the footpath policy says, that's it, we're going to tear up your nice crossovers and put a footpath. So I'll take it to which way you wanted to go with this.
Thanks for your comments. Look, I don't have a strong opinion, Councillor Ree, so I'd encourage you, if you've got a particular way you'd like to take it, I would suggest you take it that way.
Well, I think, as I said, I think it needs to be in conjunction, and I mean, councillors around the room may comment, but, you know, the seriousness of footpaths, lots of people want them, lots of people don't. We've got to start being logical, as I said on Tuesday night, which is why I put up an alternative motion. But I just do believe that they have to be looked at in conjunction with each other. We can't sit there and change one policy without changing the crossover policy. We need to respect the public, which we're not doing. And I'm using Churchland's example, but there's lots of examples everywhere. And also the fact with the comment made by having two crossovers in certain areas. And my apologies to
It's only, so let me get some advice. I do think they're different policies. They talk to each other, but they're different for a reason.
I think that's the point. They're not talking to each other. When the footpath goes through and then a couple of weeks later the crossovers all get destroyed. We're not talking to the people about it.
Okay, so I'll get Ms Shears from the Development Services and just this explanation will be why this sits in Development Services and what this policy does.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor Ree. You're correct. They do need to be considered together, which is why we did work with our colleagues in Infrastructure Directorate to make sure we could bring these together. We also had the workshop together with both business units to make sure that we do have consistency in provisions. The way the policies interact is the location of the footpath and whether or not it is at the curb or at the property boundary. You're correct in that. And there are specific requirements depending on where that footpath is positioned. So they don't necessarily need to sit in the same business unit for that, I guess, those two policies to be able to talk to each other together. My suggestion, though, is if council is looking to make some changes to the footpath policy, then it may be prudent to defer the crossover if there are significant changes to the footpath policy that might impact the crossover policy.
So, Councillor Reid, would
Thank
you
you. I
like?
think that's a good.
So is that
well
what
done,
you'd like to
Robert.
go to?
Yes, I think we need to do that because we need to respect the owners, we need to respect the staff to make sure they're all working to one objective, and that is to make the streets safer and active.
So
to
Councillor-
hold over
Yes.
until the same date?
Yeah, so you'd like to move a procedural that council holds the crossover policy over in line with the footpath policy to council meeting in 2 weeks' time.
So, wait a minute. We'd probably have to put in there that it would have to be reflected in the footpath. Somehow we've got to join them together because if you do, like the director said.
But the intent is there. I think the officers would certainly, when it's come back, council will still get determination on what the footpath policy looks like and if they accept it. And the intent would be that officers would have had a talk and made sure they're aligned.
Well, then,
any changes.
Then we would have to have, in this item, we would have to have the impact of the footpath policy on this.
We don't. I'm comfortable that...
If it's majorly changed, we would.
but I'm comfortable that all the directors and officers who are dealing with that are here and they understand the intent of that. That's why it's deferred at the same time. So I think
that the way that was written there, following the potential amendments, because it doesn't say what amendments will be.
Sure. I just don't think we need to overcomplicate the words in this. The intent is very clear. So is there a seconder for that? Councillor Olo. That's a procedural to hold it over in line with the footpath, so I'll put that to the vote. Just a procedural, councillors. I know. It's coming. Be patient. We've got time. Now you can vote. Thanks. That's it. That's unanimous. So that's held over in line. We'll see that again shortly. I'm sure you'll hear about it before 2 weeks. Thanks, councillors. We'll now go to 12.2P1, service level changes for parks and environment budget. Councillor Dudek has pulled this one out. Councillor Papard is chair of that committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the committee's recommendation on page 320.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ferrante. Someone opposed? Councillor Dudek. I'll go. I'll go to Councillor Papard as a mover.
It was some good debate on that at committee, and I'll look forward to the debate here today, and we'll leave it at that for now.
Thanks. Councillor Ferrante.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there was a lot of questions and some remarks from the officers this week, and hopefully that indicates to Councillor Dudek what he wants to know.
Let's find out. Councillor Dudek.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, no, I'm obviously just a bit disappointed with how this has come. I think I indicated on the note when we passed the budget that I was happy to support it if we were to defer those changes. I guess I wasn't good enough with the way I'd phrased it, and these have already been cut from the budget. I'm not looking to make any changes on the fly tonight. I likely won't even end up voting against noting this because it's valuable information. I just do want to make a slight comment and just indicate that I probably will be looking to bring a few of these back. So I'm glad we do have this information. I thank the officers. I do thank them for clarifying that this 384,000 is the net difference between last year versus this year. I don't think that was exactly clear in committee when we'd asked the same questions. But I do just want to flag to councillors that I'm probably looking to, in a future meeting, and the administration, I'm happy to work with them, look to adjust the contract and maintenance schedules in the low profile areas that's been talked about, saving 15,000, getting them back to quarterly if we can, and also the urban greening and the removal of trees. And I will just note a quick story. At one time on council, when someone had approached me about having a tree cut, she walks her kid in a pram through a path every single day, and I'd put in a request for tree pruning, and I thought it would be an easy task, but I'd never felt more impotent than that day. Sorry, apologies for the for that phrasing. But
I was thinking that escalated quite quickly.
But just the difficulty and the timeline in getting this tree pruned for her, which I feel like we should deal with them sooner. So I might just flag that in the future I'll be looking to bring it back and see if we can get those to a better timeline than non-urgent pruning requests may take up to 6 months for actual works. Because I don't think that aligns with expectations.
And that's fair comments. You were clear in that from the start with this one. I will say, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this? If not, I'll go to Councillor Pard to close.
I'll just be very brief, and I do appreciate Councillor Dudek what he is wanting to achieve there, and to flag the council to work with them to adjust contracts in the future. But otherwise, I think following the discussion in committee, we were pretty happy with the way things went. So I do implore you to move this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. With that closes debate. So I'll move Councillor Pard, seconded. Councillor Fronte. Thank you, and that's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. We'll go to item 12.2F3 that's been pulled out, the annual waive of grant concessions, write-off money. Councillor Pard as chair of the committee.
Yes, I will defer to Councillor Krstičević, I believe, to make some discussion on this. Yep.
No. Just move it.
Thank you. Councillors, I'm happy to chair this meeting if it's all right with you. Thank you, Councillor Pard. You can take a seat. Councillor Krstičević, you have a motion.
I would like to move the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Perkov is happy to second that. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Dudek? Yeah, we'll do the debate, but we'll put them separately either way. Yep. Councillor Krstičević?
Thank you very much. This was obviously debated at committee. After committee, there was additional information given to us through the CEO and the Director of Planning and Development in respect to this matter, and it became quite clear through there that there was no basis for the city to charge a fee for the use of land for a sales office. But I would like to ask two questions, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, can the CEO confirm that there was a legal deed in place that acknowledged a sale office on lot 8003, the public open space reserve?
Mr.
CEO? Through you, Mayor, thanks Councillor Krstičević for the question. Yes, there was a legal deed agreement in place for the subdivision at Seven Hills in Dianella, and amongst other things, that deed did acknowledge the existence of a sales office on lot 8003.
Thank you very much. And my second question is, did the deed, when it was enacted, require payment of rent for the use of the land?
Thank you. Mr. CEO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, the deed did not require any payment for the use of the land.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Perkov as seconded.
Thanks. Thank you, Mayor Irwin. If anything, what this highlights is that, and it's listed somewhere in the report, that we can do these things better and we should do better in the future, and it's pretty much null and void as it stands. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dudek?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do disagree with my fellow councillors on this one, and I am going to speak against the recommendation, and specifically point 2A in writing off the debt to Satterley Property Group, and it's not anything personal. I don't know the guy. He probably does a lot of good work, but I don't agree with writing off the $108,000 for their commercial use of Gay Osborne Reserve in Dianella for a sales office, in fact. While I appreciate the administration's thoroughness in detailing the complexities of a historical matter and the likelihood of being able to recover these funds through legal means, I think we should look closely at the timeline, our statutory powers and the policy precedent that we set if we approve this waiver. So just looking at the timeline, and we've heard about the deed that was from 2016, and correct, there was no imposition of a lease fee or rent payment for them situating a sales office. It did flag the sales office, but didn't actually tie any payment to that. But I disagree that we haven't given any notice to Satterley of this charge. And in fact, not in the deed, but in the subsequent development approvals that were lodged. Firstly, in January 2017, next in December 2017, and in August 2019, we did in fact notify Satterley that the use of the reserve would come at a cost of $50 a day reserve hire, which I believe is a discounted rate compared to what we charge the rest of the community. Can I just briefly ask the officers, in terms of their occupation and moving into the sales office, what date that was on? I backdated the 108,000 if you're doing $50 a day, and I assume it's around February 2017, January 2017.
Mr. CEO?
Through the chair, I believe the date was around January 2017.
Correct, thank you. And that would have been the same month in which their development application was approved by Sterling, and in which it did explicitly say in the advice note that would charge them $50 a day for use of the reserve for a sales office. Now, not only that, the city then issued an invoice in February 2023 for that 108,000, which is what this relates to. The temporary sales office and associated car park, from what I've read, weren't actually, the sales office wasn't removed and the park wasn't reinstated until 6 months after this invoice was issued in August 2023. Can I just confirm that?
Mr. CEO?
Through the chair, Councillor Dudek, it was around that time. It was about between 6 to 7 months after. I believe it was actually August 2023 when everything was removed. The reason why the invoice was sent out in February or the end of January 2023 was because the sales office was starting to be dismounted.
Thank you very much. So Satterley had an active invoice, written notice of the city's commercial fees for a full 6 months in terms of the invoice, but also for a full 6 years prior to that from subsequent development applications. When they received the invoice from us in February 2023, they didn't vacate the land. They didn't dispute it. They didn't tell us we're not paying that. They still used that site for their sales office for 6 more months, I believe. If that's correct, can I just confirm that? Perhaps, and also what the payment terms of the invoice was, like when we'd listed the payment due date.
Mr.
CEO? Through the chair, Councillor Dudek, Satterley did dispute the invoice before they started to remove the whole sales office. Legal advice was provided to Satterley, and their lawyers wrote to the city in April 2023, but I believe they also had discussions prior to that with the Director of Infrastructure.
Okay, I appreciate that update. Otherwise, as I was saying, the developer derived substantial commercial benefit from occupying the reserve to market the subdivision. I'm not sure why they've taken issue with paying the invoice. In fact, if we were to provide this space to Satterley without imposing a fee, I think we'd understandably have to answer residents about why they get a free spot for a sales office when they'd have to pay to organise their own party or soccer game on one of our reserves. But you know, a commercial arrangement would raise a lot more questions. So that's what concerns me. The other thing is, I don't agree that we have a lack of basis to enforce payment. Under the Local Government Act, Section 6.16, we do have the authority to impose and recover charges for the use of or entry onto local government property. It was listed in advice notes. They didn't say anything then. And I understand that advice notes don't have the same legal weighting as the deed that we signed initially, but also they don't mean nothing, and developers need to read these when they come. And if advice notes mean nothing, then I almost feel like walking out of every DAP meeting when they start discussing them, because I'd be wasting my time. But I will just say, in terms of the actual consideration of this debt and whether it's unrecoverable, I'm not advocating for us to spend a whole bunch of our ratepayers' funds on a legal challenge to pursue this. I imagine they could probably out-lawyer us, but I also don't see the justification in taking it off our books, especially when we look at our unpaid library debts which are often kept on records for more than 3 years and then referred to a specialised collection agency. And fines enforcement registry debts, which we have for up to 8 years before we write them off our books. I don't think this debt is classified as unrecoverable. If I was talking to a business who had a $108,000 debt on this basis and it had been outstanding for a couple of years, I probably wouldn't tell them to write it off just yet. So I'd encourage us to leave it on and maybe come to an agreement. It doesn't necessarily need to be the 108,000, maybe, but again, that's not my wheelhouse. I think we should make them come to the table before we just agree to write this off.
Thanks. Thanks, Councillor Dudek. Can I just ask for clarification points just on a couple of things, just so I get it in my own head? And I might ask Ms Shears. In Councillor Dudek's debate, he talked about the reserve and obviously the expectations of community. Given this was a clearance of a subdivision at the time, was that actually a grassed reserve that the sales office went on, or was it part of basically sandy lots that were used that sadly then turned into a reserve as part of the clearance and subdivisions? And also if you can provide some information just about advice notes, just so councillors understand that part.
Through you, Mr Mayor, or to you, Mr Mayor, in terms of the question, it was around 111 lot subdivision that called the Seven Hills, I guess, estate that Satterley undertook. As part of that development, they were required to cede this parcel of land. So originally when this came to the city, obviously it was a larger parcel of site or development site. This was one of 2 areas that they ceded to public open space. From what I've looked at in terms of the file, they are above what they're sort of required in terms of that 10% standard amount that we would normally get. So yes, it was basically just a sandy pile of dirt at the time that the subdivision was created. In terms of advice notes, they are intended to be ways to help you meet conditions. So they're not enforceably legally at all. They have no legal weight whatsoever. They're intended to help people follow through other obligations or other approvals that they may require, just as reminders.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much. I thank Councillor Dudek for his comments, and I also thank Councillor Kristovich for his comments as well. And yes, it was an interesting conversation. I'm concerned that this has gone on for 10 years and that it is a management issue and that we have audit committees. We have the State Government Audit Committee, and this never ever came up. That concerns me, and I believe that it was 2016 prior to this CEO, the CEO, sorry, not this, and I believe that, you know, to clean it up, that it's probably do good diligence now to actually bring it forward and have it cleaned. So I congratulate the new CEO to do so, but it still doesn't take away the fact of what's been going on. And that site had a lot of bush on it, and for those that were around in between 2010 and 2016, it had a lot of bush. It was very active. I don't know how many people we had about the kangaroos dying and the Cottonwood Crescent. It went on and on and on. So it was a very active place. It wasn't just dirt. So
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
you know,
Councillor Ferrandi, what's your point of order?
I'm not sure if the kangaroos died. I think we relocate them.
Yes. Happy to take that point of order. I think so.
I
Let
think
me just clarify.
They did die because they got run over.
No, let's get back on top. I think it's important to know you are right, Councillor Reid. This was bushland, but it was private bushland. The clearance of the subdivisions obviously cleared all that bushland, and there was conditions involved.
When you clear bushland, you'd end up with nothing for kangaroos to eat. But anyway, that side, and I think if people went through news, they would have seen that when they put some of the houses in, some of the people had grass on their front verge, which the kangaroos were eating, and they didn't like that. So, but anyway, whatever happened
Point
to
of
the
order,
kangaroos?
No, there's no point of order. But
They're not eating the grass. They never did. It was bushland.
okay,
It's bush.
Councillor Reid, let's get this on track.
Anyway,
Kangaroos
so-
aren't going to win you an argument here.
To my concern, I'm more concerned of the fact that the processes and the audit committee and what they're for. We can only be as good on council making decisions with the information provided to us. That's all. And I know that the CEO is trying to right the wrong, but it doesn't take away what's been happening, and it does concern me. And I did raise last meeting about the superannuation, which concerns me. So I would like to have it still not done separately, put separately,
Yep.
and so we could vote separately, please, because I'm concerned about the effect on my ratepayers who have contacted me about it that want a women's shed and some want a footpath in places.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Migdale.
Thanks, Mayor Irwin. I think most importantly here, the most important aspect is that we move forward with transparency and clarity for our residents who may be a tad confused about seeing a big figure, five figures or six figures, that apparently is owed to the city by a developer that is not really owed to the city by a developer. So just to clarify, this development, Seven Hills, which created lots of housing stock in the city, the agreement was, and correct me if I'm wrong through you, Mayor, to officers, the agreement was that a certain percentage would be ceded to the City of Stirling for public open space, for parks that are a requirement of any development, and in this instance, slightly more than is the minimum requirement. So, next step, on one of these particular lots that was to be public open space, can we put a sales office there? Was the request from Satterley. The answer was, sure, why not? There's nothing here but sand. Until it becomes green public open space, you can have a sales office there. So the sales office was put there. Fast forward, we now reach the end of the development, all blocks are sold, and it's time to get rid of the sales office and remediate this parcel to be public open space, which was part of the agreement, and that is exactly what happened. In the meantime, somebody somewhere in the City of Stirling, saw this space as public open space of the City of Stirling. Now, for any parks that we have in the City of Stirling, there is actually a fee to rent them out, to use them for your own reasons, whether that's a birthday party or whatever it is. This particular parcel was then billed to Satterley, even during the time when it became public open space of the City of Stirling, which was always the agreement. That was erroneous. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask the CEO for clarity and comment on what I've just said.
Mr. CEO, how did that sound?
Through the chair, that sounded very good, Councillor Migdale.
I just want to make
for
sure
the
that
gallery,
I'm
some
being
of our
very
councillors
clear.
need
So
affirmation.
Sorry, no. I want to make sure that I'm keeping it simple, stupid, so everybody understands. This was an error. This amount of money should not have been billed. It was done departmentally in error. It is public open space of the City of Stirling. It is not used and hasn't been used in years as anything to do with Satterley. It's Park Place. So, yes, correct. Let's support this tonight and move on. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Papard and then Councillor Judas.
Just a brief question. I guess my question is related to, had Satterley not been there with his sales office, what other income raising ventures could the city have put there? You know, what's the value of our loss?
There's no... So I think Councillor Migdale explained it.
Yeah. Well, that's rhetorical.
There's no... Yeah. There is currently no loss to the city. Councillor Judici.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Migdale. I think that really does help illustrate the circumstance here. My only question, I think, is, and along the same lines as Councillor Migdale articulated, is the park as it was with the sales office on it. Who was looking after that park? Who was reticulating it, maintaining it, fertilising it, etc. during the whole period of time that sales office was in situ?
Satterley.
Satterley were. So the circumstance was that we had that sales office on there through the deed. It was going to be remediated, as Councillor Migdale said, and we weren't paying a dime for its maintenance.
And I think there was a significant bond in place.
And there was a bond, yeah, in the event that they weren't able to take away the sales office. So I think that does close, I suppose, my conclusions on this as well.
Thank you. So with that, I'll go, if there's no one else, I'll go to Councillor Kristovich to
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I think it's fair to say that some people have been going down the wrong path with this particular issue. But it's pretty obvious, as I've stated previously, one, the deed said he didn't need to pay anything, and he didn't pay anything. And ultimately, as Councillor Migdale said, it was his land. He then decided to subdivide it, gave it to us, made it into a park. Fantastic. We should be applauding this sort of activity where people are creating parks and giving them back to the community, and we should be supporting them. And I can guarantee you, if you go around the city right now and look at various parcels of land, you might see certain state government agencies or other developers using land at the moment that maybe is owned by the city, and they're not paying anything for it because they're actually giving us a benefit and a community benefit. So we might be, having some of that around the place potentially. But anyway, all I want to say is that in this particular case, there was no reason why this money should have been raised in the first place, and I think it was an accurate decision. I'm not a lawyer, but I do take the words of the CEO and the directors and the staff. They have gone through this process with a fine-tooth comb, and I have every faith in them.
Thank you. And with that, that closes the debate. I have been asked to put them separately, so we will put item 1 and 2A, and we'll put those together.
Mr Mayor, just to 1 and 2B perhaps together, or is 2 separate lots of 2A is the first one, and then the second one has 1 and 2A, 1 and 2B in that? Okay. So I thought you were doing 1 and 2A and then 2B separate, but that seems fine.
I think it's 1 was with both, so it's... Yep. Let's just do it all separately. So we're just, number 1, we're just voting on receiving the report detailing the delegated authority to write off the debt. So it's just... So we're just receiving the report. So this is a no-brainer, right? So just 1. Just 1. Put that to the vote. Receiving the report. Councillors, you're not voting to write off anything, you're just voting to receive the report. That's done. Good. That was the simple part. We'll now vote on 2A. So you're approving the following debt write-off. 2A, sadly. This is the one you just debated. So if you're approving the write-off, vote for. Okay, I think we've got Councillor Iron. Thank you. So that motion is carried, 10-4. Yep, with Councillors Ferrante, Giudice, Hatton, Kristovich, Migdale, Olo, Papard, Perkoff, Proud and myself voting for, and against Councillor Corrado, Dudek, Iron and Ree. We'll go to item 2B and we'll put that one to the vote. Councillors, let's keep on track. Thank you. And that one is carried with Councillor Ferrante voting against, all other councillors voting for. That brings us to the balance of reports. So I go to you, Councillor Papard, for the balance of those reports from Community and Resource Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the balance of those reports of the Community Resources Committee. Thank you.
Seconded, Councillor Proud. I'll put those to the vote. Okay, we've got one to go. We've got Councillor Ferrante. Thank you. That is carried. So we have, let me just check. So Councillor Hatton has voted against. So sorry, if we can clear that vote. We can clear the vote. I think just for the record though, given it's all the reports, if we can redo that vote, please, councillors. Green is approval, if that helps, councillors. That is carried and that is unanimous. So members of the gallery and viewers at home, please note that the remainder of those Community and Resource Committee recommendations have now been adopted by exception resolution, so they're all done. We'll go on to item 13, reports for consideration. We have nil. Item 14, notice of motions. We have nil. 15, notice of motions for consideration at the next meeting. Councillors, do you have any noms for the next meeting? Councillor Ree?
Yes, please.
And if you could just read them out, please, Councillor.
coming up.
Just read them out if you've got them.
Oh, here they come. The increased timing for pedestrian crossings in Scarborough Beach Road and Innaloo, that the Chief Executive Officer writes to the Main Roads Western Australia to seek an increase in the timing for traffic light pedestrian crossing signals to allow more time for seniors, people with disabilities and parents with prams to cross the busy intersections at the following locations.
Sure. Okay.
West Coast, should be West Coast Highway Scarborough to, along Scarborough Beach Road to Stevenson Avenue. So it's West Coast Highway Scarborough along Scarborough Beach Road
So at all the intersections.
through, no, it's all the intersections in between West Coast Highway and Stevenson Avenue in Innaloo.
Okay.
So West Coast Highway Scarborough along Scarborough Beach Road to Stevenson Avenue in Innaloo.
Right.
No. Should be along Scarborough Beach Road. So it's all the intersections along Scarborough Beach Road to Innaloo from West Coast Highway to Stevenson.
Yeah.
Along. That's it.
Let's just take, we understand
And-
the intent, we'll
And
wordsmith.
Ellen Sterling Boulevard interview. And the reasons for that is the crossing wait times are so short that it has caused seniors in particular to hurry, which has caused them to fall. The general safety of all road users has been impacted by the short pedestrian time frame. The short crossings wait time has been a deterrent for people to walk to the shops, etc., and be active.
All right. And did you say you had a second one?
Yes, please. That a report be presented to the Community and Resource Committee meeting to be held the 27th of October 2026 to investigate ways in which the city could mitigate safety issues for pedestrians waiting to catch buses on the eastern side of Ellen Sterling Boulevard. The reasons: there is no continuous footpath along eastern side of Ellen Sterling Boulevard. There are many accidents on the road near the bus stops. It is mainly dark area at the bus stops and the adjacent land, and people feel unsafe. There is mostly no footpath access from the individual bus stops to the traffic lights along the roads. There is no bus stop shelters for changes in the weather. The pedestrians need to walk from the shopping centre on the west side of Ellen Sterling Boulevard. There is no crosswalks or traffic lights in close proximity to the bus stops, making people feel unsafe.
Thank you. There are your two noms. Sounds like we need a footpath policy, councillor. Now, councillors, are there any other notice of motions? There's no other notice of motions. Item 16, questions by members of which due notice has been given. I have nil and I have no new business of an urgent nature. Item 18, we have matters behind closed doors. So we have a confidential item to be discussed behind closed doors this evening. So for item 18.1, that in accordance with the Local Government Act, the meeting is to be closed to ensure confidentiality for the following matter, the information contained in the report and subsequent discussions to so prescribe. So I will ask if we have a mover and a seconder. So move Councillor Proud, seconder Councillor Ferrante, and just a show of hands, councillors, to go behind closed doors. That is unanimous. Thank you. I will bid you all farewell. And those viewers at home, bid you farewell. were carried while the council was behind closed doors. Sorry. It's coming.
No, it's in the agenda.
Bear with us if you are watching. The council does not make a finding that an alleged
Sorry, beg your pardon, that's not it.
that in accordance with clause 13 of the Code of Conduct for council members, committee members and candidates, council dismisses the complaint that an alleged behavioural breach has occurred by the elected member, the subject of the complaint, and as detailed in the report for the following reasons: the behaviour to which the complaint relates occurred at the council meeting, and the person responsible for the behavioural breach took remedial action in accordance with the City's Meeting Procedures Law 2021. Thank you. I'll now go to item 19, which is close to the meeting. I declare the council meeting closed at 8:05 p.m. I bid those viewers at home good night, and thank you, council, for your attendance. Thanks, staff, for your assistance.